Hey everybody, and welcome back to BK's Bullets. Today we are going to talk Fallen Sun, the death of Captain America. Hey everybody, and welcome back to BK's Bullets. As always, I am your host, Brent, and today we're going to talk about the death of Captain America, Fallen Sun. Now, we've been doing some reviews of these Captain America books, and I'm currently in process of reading this massive Death of Captain America complete collection by Ed Brubaker. But since this collection starts off with the Civil War tie-ins, I read Civil War. I have a review up for that on the channel. I just read issue 25 and 26, where we talk about Cap's funeral and Tony Stark, and I'm going in my brain, where is that in the comic books? And I remembered, oh yes, Cap's funeral, most of it is in this Fallen Sun book. So I just reread Fallen Sun, the Death of Captain America on my iPad. I don't have a trade paperback for that. I just have the digital issues. So let's talk about it. Now, before we get into that, let me ask you to do one thing. Please subscribe. Helps me out, helps the channel grow, lets you know when I drop new videos. Hit a like on this video if you like comics reviews and want to see more of them. Thank you very much. Now, Fallen Sun, The Death of Captain America is like a 5-issue miniseries that came out basically concurrently with Captain America dying back in the mid-2000s after the Civil War event. Civil War 1 through 7 came out. Captain America 25 came out really shortly after that. And then as soon as Cap 25 came out where Captain America was killed, you had Fallen Sun, The Death of Captain America, like just kind of put out there. In the months leading up to it, it was just Fallen Sun, and there was no real thing about what it was about. It was just, here's the writer, Jeph Loeb, here's the artist, and it was, advertised of the Marvel Universe going through the 5 stages of grief, which are denial, anger, depression, bargaining, and acceptance, right? I think in that order. I could be wrong. So we didn't really know who died or anything like that. We thought it was going to come at the end of Civil War. Civil War number 7 came and went. Nobody died, and it was like, what's going on? Then Captain America number 25 hits, and it was like, boom, that's what this is about. And then, in the weeks following, we had these 5 issues of Fallen Sun, which were dealing with the fallout of the death of Captain America. Now, the Brubaker storyline deals with the guys that were in his book. You have Sam Wilson, Sharon Carter, Nick Fury, Dum Dum Dugan, all those guys, Red Skull, Dr. Faustus, all those guys are dealt with in this book. But the Marvel Universe as a whole, outside of Sam Wilson, isn't really, Tony Stark's in here a little bit, I think, later towards the end, if I can recall correctly. But, Spider-Man and all the Resistance heroes and stuff that he was fighting with in Civil War, they're not really in that book or dealt with what they feel about Cap's death. So that's what the Fallen Sun vehicle was used for. We see Wolverine, Doctor Strange, Bucky Barnes, the new Avengers at the time, which were like the Resistance heroes. You got Spider-Man, Spider-Woman, Luke Cage, Danny Rand, Iron Fist. I'm trying to think who else was on that team. Hawkeye, Clint Barton is like recently returned back from the dead. All of a sudden, he's in Fallen Sun. Iron Man has a big thing to do here. And it was cool because you got a spotlight on a character or 2 characters with each issue with a different artist. And since each issue had a different theme, jumping from artist to artist doesn't really affect the storyline. And you have great artists in here. First, you start out with Lionel Francis Yu, who's a phenomenal artist. He was on... I think he was working on New Avengers at the time, or just about to start his run. I think he jumps on after Civil War, the crossover issues. So he's just about to start his run or starting it. Then you have Ed McGuinness doing the Avengers, New Avengers, Mighty Avengers stuff. You have David Finch doing a Spider-Man issue, which features some of the best David Finch work I have ever seen, even to this day. Some great 2-page splash pages with involving Cap, Rhino, Iron Man, the Hulk, flashback stuff also as well. Just phenomenal work from David Finch. You have John Cassaday doing the Acceptance issue with Iron Man, which is some of the best John Cassaday work I've seen in a long time. I'm one of those people that maybe I'm one of the few, but I kind of hate John Cassaday at sometimes. His artwork, at least not as a person, at least I know so far. But his old artwork is really good. I really can appreciate it. His new stuff now that he's doing, which is mostly covers, seems a little lackluster, a little sloppy, and it seems like he's forgetting more of the anatomy and stuff like that in terms of being fast or stylish or whatever. But this Iron Man issue here is phenomenal. There are some beautiful 2-page splashes here with Captain America going, through time as Sam Wilson is on the podium giving the eulogy for Captain America at Captain America's funeral in Arlington Cemetery in Washington, D.C. Cap fighting World War II, Cap and the Invaders, Cap and the Avengers, all sorts of stuff. Beautiful, beautiful stuff. So there's not really like a overall storyline to the book other than Cap is dead and the heroes are dealing with it. But the through line of the 5 stages of grief, if it was something for readers who didn't really believe that Captain America was dead or anything like that, maybe helped them accept that, this might be the future for the Marvel Universe going forward at the time. And it was for a long time, or at least a long time in comic books nowadays anyway. So rereading it, it's a really easy read. It's Jeph Loeb on writing back when Jeph Loeb was a really good writer. His more recent stuff nowadays, I think, same thing with John Cassaday, just kind of lost its luster. I'm not sure what happened. Speaking of Jeph Loeb, I'm not really sure, all the comments and stuff he made as a Marvel television executive aside. That's, let's put that aside. At the time, in the mid-2000s, he was on Superman and Batman. He was writing Hulk later on, but he was writing Superman, Batman for DC in the early 2000s. His son died. His son was like 26. I think he had cancer or something like that. So it was like this tragedy that he poured back into his work. There's a issue of Superman, Batman number 26. It's got an all-star list of artists. I think Sam Loeb also helped write it. Sam Alexander, who is the younger Nova, is inspired and created by Jeph Loeb. His son is apparently that character is named after his son as well. But so I think Fallen Son, I didn't look it up, I should have, but if I get my timing right, I think it happens after his son has passed away. So it's a look at grief through a father's eyes into the Marvel Universe about how heroes, how the heroes are dealing with this loss, this gigantic, enormous loss, which, is kind of, I've never had anybody I really know that close to me die, but, I have had all my grandparents have passed away and stuff, but they live states away, so it was sad, but it wasn't like this. There's this great moment in the issue with Spider-Man where Wolverine's describing how grief feels like a cannonball shot through your stomach as a giant hole that slowly fills in on the inside, and you live with it, basically. And then later on, you think you feel healed up, and then later on, a song or something reminds you of that grief, and it rips you open again. And I can imagine how that is true coming from knowing what happened to Jeph Loeb and his son passing away and the tragedy of a father losing a son, much less one so young. I'm, 34 going on 35. I can't imagine losing my little 3-year-old running around, much less my father losing me or my brother at that age kind of thing too. So it's just like, it seems right, and it seems kind of like inspired almost to have Jeph Loeb write this miniseries, having gone through what he went through. So I want to commend Marvel for that, because this series, as kind of, surface level as it is, does feel very, consequential. It feels very inspired. It feels like, this is where you get most people talking about death. And reading the comics afterwards, this really is one of the few places you will find these characters talking about the death of Captain America. And I mean, it happens in Brubaker's run with that particular set of characters, but the overall Marvel Universe, they'll mention it once or twice in anything that has the Initiative logo branded on the top of that particular issue, when we were like the post-Civil War phase. But in terms of Cap dying, this was it. These 5 issues were it. And it really is a fun read, per se. It's a good read. I recommend it. And, you know, like, reading The Death of Captain America, this Brubaker trade here, I'm like, man, I wish some of these issues were included, because there's stuff in here that you need. Like, the whole first issue is depression, and it's Wolverine and Bucky and Wolverine and Daredevil trying to talk about, is Cap really dead? Is it really him? They verify that it's the body. They verify, you know, one of the shooters, all that sort of stuff. That's, you know, pretty consequential to what's happening in Brubaker's run. Further on, you have the stuff with Iron Man. Like, Iron Man's talking throughout to a couple of characters throughout these issues, and it spins off into other events here in the Brubaker run. But, you know, Iron Man not being able to deliver his eulogy, or even hearing Sam Wilson's eulogy in the final issue, number 5, which is the acceptance issue, this issue is beautiful. It's the John Cassaday issue. It's drawn by John Cassaday, and, you know, it's Cap's funeral. That whole, like, the scenery of it, the monumental occasion of it, the tribute to Cap, all that stuff, all the fanfare is all really depicted in this issue, whereas in, like, I read 25 and 26, and I didn't read past 26 because I was like, I want to read Cap's funeral. It's not really in that book, in the one that's titled Captain America. So you got to go read Fallen Sun to really get that sense of scale for Cap's funeral. Otherwise, it's just like on little TV screens in Brubaker's thing, because it's not really like what's going on in his story. His story is about how did Cap die, what's the overall scheme with the Red Skull that's going on, etc., etc. Cap and what he meant to the world is not really, you know, it's something that he deals with Bucky and Sharon here, but not with the Marvel Universe as a whole. He doesn't stop to look around or anything like that. His train starts rolling as soon as 25 hits, and it steams forward ahead, if I remember reading that book. But you really taking the time to read Fallen Sun really helped me realize, like, wow, this is a tremendous loss for the Marvel Universe. Again, you know, almost 15 years later than when it happened. So definitely recommend reading Fallen Sun if you're going to read the Brubaker run. Just, you know, read 25, read 26, stop right there, put in Fallen Sun, and then go back to the Brubaker issues from there. Because I think it does help. And the stuff with Bucky, you know, does it really need to be in there in the Denial issue? Does it really need, you know, do you really need to read that Denial issue to read Brubaker's run? No, absolutely not. Like, Brubaker's Bucky is better than Loeb's Bucky. You know, as far as we've gotten to know him, he's only appeared in a couple issues in the, you know, the entire Marvel Universe as the Winter Soldier at this point in time, so it's negotiable. But just the overall scope of what happens in issue 25 and how it's dealt with in the Marvel Universe, I think, is so consequential. You do need to take the time to read Fallen Sun. And the art is gorgeous. It's fun. And it's a nice thing, like, the entire scope of Fallen Sun, like, the timeline happens almost in, like, a whole night, or maybe, like, a week, because you follow Wolverine. He goes to the Avengers hideout, and then, you know, it follows the young Avengers from that Avengers hideout into the Hawkeye storyline, and then you go back to the Avengers, and then, you know, Spider-Man leaves, and that's where his issue takes place after him leaving that event, and then back to, like, they're all waiting around the funeral, and some of them are regretting that they're not there, some of them are there, and that's where you see all that stuff. So it's like the storyline is woven pretty tightly when you read them all in order. I remember reading it as they were coming out, and I'm not really realizing how interconnected it was and how interwoven, because, you know, the Young Avengers, Patriot and Hawkeye, Kate Bishop anyway, are, like, mad in the Anger issue, of course, and they leave, and you're like, okay, bye. And I didn't realize in the next issue that, oh yeah, this is where they go and fight this bad guy, and Iron Man shows up, and, you know, Clint Barton shows up, you know, dressed as Captain America, holding the shield because he's newly back from the dead and trying to figure out where his place in the world is. So yeah, it was actually really good. So 2 thumbs up for Fallen Sun. I think if you're reading the Brubaker stuff, take some time. It's kind of a quick read, all 5 issues or something. go find your trade or go pick up the issues digitally, however you want to do it. But I really recommend you stop, reread that, probably after issue 26, then go back to the Brubaker run, because that's what I'm going to do, and I'm going to go finish this other book now. So thank you guys for watching. As always, give us a like on the video if you like comics reviews, if you like this one, and let me know what you think of Fallen Sun down below, and we'll see you guys next time in the Funny Pages.